Got computer. Friends, good morning. This is the program and pluralism in gender, it's gender pluralism. The Center for Pluralism is a nonprofit organization committed to building cohesive societies where every member of the society feels secure about his or her faith, ethnicity, culture, nationality, or any other uniqueness. Pluralism means respecting the otherness of the other. Every Sunday, we have this program on Saturday and Sunday. This program is about gender pluralism today. Just 100 years ago, in 1919, women were considered men's property. They didn't have any rights. It is embarrassing even to think about this, but that was the time and the culture. Each successive generation has found the liberty to be the hallmark of civilization, advanced liberty. Thank God for women's movement. And now men and women are considered equal in all aspects of life. We're still not there at 100%. We got a lot more to go. 1,400 years ago, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, restored the God given rights to women to be free, the same rights as men. For thousands of years, men had oppressed women and taken out all the rights, but finally it came through. Prophet Muhammad made it clear that everyone is individually responsible and accountable for their actions on the day of judgment or the conscience. It was the first time in human history a woman was considered equal to a man. She had the freedom to marry, divorce, own property, business, believe whatever she wanted to, and live her life. What some men do is their problem, it is not religion. In fact, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, had said to the women that if your husband prevents you from doing things against what you believe, you can walk away from the marriage. Such was the importance placed on freedom and free will. This event today is about to raise funds to publish a book of the title 30 Rights of Muslim Women. It will have a great value for women, all women, including Muslim women. And these rights are given in the Quran. And of course, cultures are different than religion. We have to separate that. Today's speaker is Daisy Khan. Daisy Khan is an award winner speaker, author, activist, commentator, and founder of Women's Islamic Initiative in Spirituality and Equality, that is WISE, WISE, the largest global network of Muslim women committed to peace building, gender equality, and human dignity. Formerly, Daisy served as an executive director of the American Society for Muslim Advancement for 18 years, where she hailed as a bridge builder for promoting cultural and religious harmony through groundbreaking interfaith programs. And she combating Muslim bias, she says, today I'm a Muslim too, rally with 100 interfaith organization. When Daisy saw an unprecedented rise in violent extremism causing intense scrutiny and distrust of Muslims in America, she published a book called Wise Up, Knowledge Ends Extremism. Daisy, you may want to show you the book Wise Up. That is the book Daisy wrote, and there are 75 different authors contributed how to change the society, and I'm honored to be one of the authors in the book. And Daisy, it's your turn now. Tell us about what this book is about, and more than anything else, everybody is anxious to hear what are those 30 rights that Muslim women have that most people don't think they have those rights, including Muslim women themselves don't believe that.
Well, thank you very much, Mike, and thank you to everybody who has joined us today. And it's wonderful to see people dedicated enough to spend a weekend, you know, expanding your knowledge. So you have mentioned pluralism, equality, and justice. This is these are the important values that underpin everything that we do, because as you mentioned, pluralism is at the heart of Islam and also at the heart of the American, cultural milieu that has defined America. So
Daisy, may want to increase your vocal volume.
something that has been, so we want to stand true to that. And so what we do, whether it is the 30 rights of Muslim women or whether it is doing interfaith dialogue, that's the underpinning value that we want to promote. Equality is important because denial of gender and human equality constitutes not only a violation of Islamic principles, but also a violation of American values. So, regardless of sex, race, nationality, we believe that all humans deserve dignity and human rights, and that the Quran heavily emphasizes human equality, that it promulgates equal pay for men and women, for instance, a struggle that, continues today. And then we also believe that without justice, you can't have equality and pluralism. All of these wonderful values get eroded if you don't have justice.
Daisy, you may want to come closer to the microphone or increase your local volume.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yeah.
Is it better? Okay. Yeah. So we believe that justice transcends considerations of all ethnicities, race, religion, creed, and Muslims are taught to do justice. So we believe in gender justice, and as a way of promoting social justice in society. So these are the three things that underpin everything that we do, Mike. And it's also important because we are an organization that is dedicated to bringing together faith and feminism, faith and feminism, sort of bringing them together and converging them. Why faith or why religion? Because 80% of the world's worldwide population profess a religious faith and understand intimately that religion is defined not only by the letter of its teaching, but how communities actualize its wisdom and implement its virtues in their lives. So, and faith communities, as we know, are politically active, are socially involved, and are vital champions of human rights. So we are, capable of mobilizing large groups of people against intolerance, hate, and extremism. So, our this approach that we take includes faith as a rallying cry. And this is why we really wanted to promote Islam's egalitarian teachings to promote women's rights and also religious pluralism within that and women's empowerment. So we are acting on our belief to promote these rights for Muslim women. So what are these 30 rights? Well, why did we even do this? I had a incident in my office once. A young woman walked in, and she was an intern, and she was in her early 20s, and she confided in me that she had fled home. She was a young Muslim woman, and that and I asked her why. She said, because my family was trying to force me to get married. And she was right here in America. It was not somewhere in Afghanistan or Sudan or some country that you would attribute forced marriage to, but it was right here in my own backyard. And of course, I was very distraught because I am, running a Muslim women's organization. So I asked her, what can I do to help you? She said, well, when I was going through this predicament, I looked everywhere and nobody could support me. I didn't have a support mechanism. There was nobody I could turn to, nobody who could help me, nobody who could argue for me. I didn't even know how I could argue with my parents about this issue. And so she asked that, why doesn't WISE take on this charge and bring together all of women's rights in one place so it is easily searchable for young women so that young women can access this information. So this is the impetus to why we created these 30 rights in a very organized fashion. So what are these 30 rights of Muslim women? We want to fill this much needed gap for Muslim women, not only here in the United States, but abroad, so we can set our own agenda by using this egalitarian framework to penetrate deeper into grassroots communities where sustainable change is really
Sure.
needed.
Daisy, you may want to address how women throughout the ages, and particularly in the impoverished nations, as you mentioned earlier, Sudan, Somalia, and even in Afghanistan, how women were made to believe that they were subservient to men, as if the Quran or the religion sanctioned them to be subservient to men. But that was not the case. You want to address that issue?
Yeah, well, so we address the issue in the 30 rights. We address this issue literally from the genesis of creation. We literally go to the story of Adam and Eve. And because a lot of people, talk about women being the source of sin and the source of, man's temptation. And in our research, while we were researching the book, this notion that a woman is a temptress always comes up in the sense that she is the source of tempting men. So therefore, she has to be covered. She has to be obedient. She has to be, subservient. It all stems from that. So we literally went all the way to that story and re-examined it, and so that women around the globe who are activists and who are leaders in their communities can take these rights and these stories that exist within our scriptures to not only empower themselves, but to fully participate in their communities and nations and be able to amplify their voices at all levels, whether it's politics, economics, religious, and social discourse. So you mentioned Afghanistan, and it's one country that I have intimate knowledge of because we've been doing a lot of work in Afghanistan. So we have partners in Afghanistan, women partners, and as you know, recently there has been this administration, wanted to expedite the pullout of the troops just to show that we had been victorious. But the reality is that we've actually handed over Afghanistan back to the very Taliban that we were supposed to defeat, that we were supposed to disarm. So not only are they armed, they are empowered. They are being made to be politically, they are now politically considered legitimate, and they have no respect for women's rights. And but recently, because of the so-called peace negotiations that are going on, one of the issues that has come up are women's rights. Are women's rights going to be secured in the new Afghanistan run by Taliban? So because of the pressure, the Taliban have said that women will have the rights provided they can be proven that they're Islamic. So for us, that was, music to our ears because this is exactly the argument that the 30 Rights of Muslim Women makes, which is that yes, women have the right to be a political leader. A woman has a right to career. A woman has a right to education. A woman has a right to marry who she wants to marry. So we
Fact,
organize.
this is a very effective, what you're doing is a very effective tool in combating ignorance. And for whatever reason, many Muslim men and women thought they don't have those rights that were given in the Quran. But when you present them the evidence from the Quran that it is there, and generally they will yield to that. I'm glad you are taking this approach, and this is one way of restoring women's independence and women's rights. Please go ahead.
Yeah. So it's a one-stop educational resource which synthesizes Islamic religious and legal authorities because it's important to understand where authority comes within the Muslim community. So authoritatively, the Quran is the most authoritative source, but the Quran doesn't always address everything because there are, new dilemmas, new modern dilemmas that the Quran didn't address because it was in 7th century. So, but over time, there has been a rich body of laws and jurisprudence that has developed in Islamic society. So what we did was we curated all that. We culled all that information in an easy to understand, comprehensive suite of women's rights, taking the best of what was out there, the creme de la creme, and putting it together for the communities that will be using it as a source book for real concrete change, for actionable recommendations, and for legislation. For instance, in the case of Afghanistan, we are confident that parts of this book will be used for legislation, because if you're trying to prove, if you're trying to create a new law in Afghanistan that women should have the right to property, then you have to argue that. And oftentimes people don't have those arguments because you have to go through voluminous books to find these arguments. And then people argue over which interpretation is it. So we did it from a gender perspective, from a woman's perspective. We wrote it so that we could prove that yes, woman has a right to property, because why shouldn't she? If she has right to inheritance, she has a right to property. And and if she has a right to wealth, then she has a right to property. So that's how we are arguing each one of these rights from that basis, with an eye for legislation that we it might be used for legislation. So for us, that would be a real win if we're able to influence, policy vis-a-vis Muslim women, especially overseas. Here domestically, it is very going to be very useful for people because, as you know, the Islamophobic machinery always talks about women being oppressed and suppressed. And this is the prevailing perception of Muslim women here on the homeland. And yet the reality of Muslim women is very different. Just in this year 2020, between 19 and 20, we've had 12 women politicians that are engaged in society, being elected, as state senators, as congresswomen, as city council. I mean, it's just unbelievable what's happening, and they wouldn't have done this if they didn't know that this was something that Islam empowered them to do, to serve their community, to be of service to their community. So this is the behind the scenes work of why we felt the need to do this. And I'm happy to go into the specifics if I can share the screen to just show people what is actually in the book.
Daisy, in America, most men and women take it for granted that women have all these rights, but these still there are many rights that are not given to women, are not restored to women here in the United States. Kamala Harris made that difference, being in the highest position. But these rights are not taken away from women in still many countries around the world. So there is a clear distinction between what we have here and what others have in the other countries. So
Yeah.
please go ahead and share the screen.
Yeah. So let me just
Friends, you're listening to Daisy Khan, 30 Rights of Muslim Women.
So this is the current title as it exists right now: 30 Rights of Muslim Women, Haq of a Muslim Woman, meaning the right of a Muslim woman. Haq in Arabic means right. So women in Islam, Quran, and Sharia. So this is a placeholder title right now, um, which is going to change. So am I still sharing my screen?
Yes, you are.
Okay, great. So this is, I will just take the audience through a little bit of. So we had to do a context of why we were doing this. So we spent a couple of chapters in the beginning talking about Afghanistan, the politicization and weaponization of Islam, the benefits of religion, and rebuilding a stable Afghanistan. But then we go into Islam and peace education, moderation, a very important concept in Islam, Islam, peace and nonviolence, and reconciliation mechanisms. Then we went into the preamble, as I mentioned earlier: human creation, men and women as equals, the history of patriarchy and male authority. How did that develop over the centuries? What is women's equality? What is the basis of women's equality in Islam? And then we spent a little bit of time on explaining, because we wanted to show women's equality, but we also wanted to show from the divine perspective the charge that had been given to women in our scriptures, women who are very exemplary women that Muslim women hearken to, and we see them as our role models. But I wanted to show these women and the roles that they have played and the significance of these women vis-a-vis God giving them an important charge. So we mentioned Hagar, who is the patriarch of, the matriarch of monotheism, and Asiya, the wife of the Pharaoh. Uh,
Is Abraham's wife.
yeah, sorry, yeah. And Bilqis, Queen of Sheba, is very importantly figured in this book because she is considered the exemplar of political leadership. And so when in places like Afghanistan and other countries, when they say that woman cannot be a political leader, we always point to this verse, or we point to this particular story of Solomon and Sheba. Like, why would God say that Sheba is an exemplary reader, and show her in opposition to the Pharaoh? So the pharaonic leadership is one of coercion and egoism, and Sheba is considered a person who was willing to avoid war and reconcile with Solomon by sending a letter and a gift. So we show these women. Maryam, of course, is the mother of Jesus. Khadija, the wife of the prophet. Fatima, the daughter of the prophet. Hafsa, a very important woman, one of the wives of the prophet. Amra, a jurist. Sumaya, a first martyr. Nusayba, another exemplary of another contemporary of the prophet. So we wanted to just show these women to situate people within the scriptures, how women are viewed within scriptures. Then we go a little bit into the nuts and bolts of Islamic jurisprudence. Sharia and fiqh. What is Sharia? What is fiqh? Meaning jurisprudence, and fiqh, or interpretation. And then we go a little bit into some of the principles, guiding principles, not root principles, guiding principles that we guide, or this entire document is guided by human equality, social justice, public interest, and moderation. And what are the objectives of Sharia and fiqh as understood by Islamic jurisprudence? So this is how things are organized by Muslims over the last 1,000 years. This is how laws are configured within this model. So it's the protection and promotion of life, religion, family, wealth, mind, and dignity. And so all of the rights that we have listed in here are actually organized in this way. So section 3 of the book goes deep, takes a deep dive into each of these rights. The right to your mind means akal, means your mind, has to do with your ability to be civically engaged and politically engaged. So you can be a political and civic leader because you're using your mind and you're using your intellect. Education is to further your mind and intellect. Career pursuit is to use the mind to do whatever talent you has been given to you. Freedom of speech is all about using your faculties, your intellectual faculties, to speak out, to restore justice. And testimony and witness is also one of the things that's within that. The right to your religion has to do with, from the very genesis of the Quran, what is vice regency, meaning that every person who is born, according to the Quran, is a steward of God, a mini ambassador, been given that faculty, whether it's men or women. God does not even define Muslim, non-Muslim. Everybody is a vice regent. And so we are charged to do good and to prevent evil. And it does makes no distinction between men and women. So if everybody is a vice regent, men and women are both vice regents of God. So why can't a woman then exhibit all the faculties that she has been given to do good or to prevent evil? So then religious leadership, of course, stems from that, because, if a woman has the ability to serve her community by being a spiritual mentor or being, a religious leader, then she has the right to. She just has to have the knowledge and has to have the merit to be a leader in the community, because it's the community that gives her that right. Religious leadership education is important, because how can you be a religious leader unless you are educated, and how can you be a vice regent of God if you don't have the basic knowledge of what you know what everything that God has created. So religious education becomes incumbent on us. Interpretation of text has to do with, if a woman has the ability to be a jurist, and there is no prohibition for Muslims to look into their scripture and to read and to decipher, because the Quran talks about reason and talks about using your own mind. Do not follow your ancestors, just use your own mind. So interpretation falls into that bucket as well. You can be an interpreter. You can be do ijtihad, and a lot of the work that we do today, contemporary women who are somewhat learned, right? We're not scholars, we're not authorities, but we have enough knowledge to be able to decipher and bring things together and make a case, as long as we use the methodology that has been employed in the past. Access to religious spaces, well, how can you get religious education if you are not listening to sermons and being part of your religious community? So this is another issue that many women are denied. They're denied equal access to religious spaces. So here in the States, we talk about women having inferior spaces, right? But overseas, we have women that don't even, not even allowed to come to a mosque, because they're told somehow that, you know, that a mosque is that a husband will take you to heaven. So these are just some myths that we undo, and we always go back to what was happening in 7th century, and we discover that, women were very much part of the mosque scene. They were charged with responsibility. They were very much there, and if they weren't, the prophet was creating specific space for them to educate them, to speak with them, to have a discourse with them. So they were getting equal access to information. So it wasn't, they were not denied that. Then we go to the right to your family, which has a lot of issues in it. One is, what is marriage? Oftentimes people talk about, you know, this, that people are forcefully married, or they're not allowed to be married because of family pressure. So we talk about marriage in general. What is marriage? And it's a really good solid article. And then we talk about
Friends,
what is forced marriage. Yeah, go ahead.
Friends, you're listening to Gender Pluralism, a part of the Center for Pluralism. And today you're listening to Daisy Khan, and she is creating a book called Rights of Muslim Women, 30 Rights of Muslim Women. Hitherto, many men believe that they have certain rights over women without realizing women have the same rights over them. And for sad reason, many women accepted their subservient role as if assuming that the Quran sanctions those. Quran does not sanction those rules. And this book, The 30 Rights of Muslim Women, is about that book. And Daisy Khan is explaining what this book is about. The most important thing is the book is about to be published. I think we need some funds to publish that book, and whoever can donate. Daisy, you want to give the link where they can donate?
Um, so let me see. Maybe at the end.
Yes, yeah, we can do at the end. And thank you very much for listening. And we will take questions at 1 o'clock EST or 12 o'clock CST. Go ahead, Daisy.
Okay, great. So is this too deep dive, or should we, I'm asking you because I don't know whether your audience wants this level of detail.
Well, I think they do want some details, but what is important is what is the impact this book will have in creating equality in societies. I'm not talking about America. America, even here, we need it. Finally, we have Kamala Harris as the vice president nominee. I mean, vice president. But in other countries, there is a mixed thing there, and especially Muslim countries, the women's rights are not there.
Yeah,
And the rights are there, but they are oppressed, are taken away from by men. And how do we restore that? Through the education of Quran.
yeah.
So people do
So
need that.
Yeah, so the important thing is the reason why we are going into each of these rights is because there are women who are in leadership positions, people like myself, and wise has a very large network of women around the globe. And these women, once they have a toolkit like this at their disposal, they can do a lot within their own communities to organize people, to educate people, to advocate for people, to fight for the rights of women, to even fight for legislation. So as an example, I have a woman overseas in an African country who just reached out to me because she heard about this, and she wants to create a third political party because they are thinking of creating a political party, and she wants to create a political party of women, a woman's political party. But her only stumbling block is that she thinks that a woman cannot be in politics. So when she heard about this, and I said, don't worry about it, I'll give you all the arguments. So now she is going to take this argument that she has in 3 pages, and she is going to run around to all the women that would have formed this political party, and she's going to convince them, and they're going to be convinced that they have the divine permission to do this, and God himself is giving them the right. And imagine the kind of inspiration and the kind of the force with which you can move forward, with a conviction that yes, you are grounded, you have the moral authority to do this. So that is what is going to help women all over, because we need advocates. There are people who advocate for us. So for instance, we may not be using many of these issues here in the United States, but we will be using the female genital mutilation because that's a very big issue here in the United States right now. There are laws being created. There are issues of child marriage in this country. We will be using that for legislation. There are domestic violence in this country. So there are some of the issues that are addressed. Abortion is a very big issue. This can affect abortion debate. Uh, and then also with the State Department can use this. State Department can use this book to somehow influence what's happening in other countries, because it's only recently that the State Department has come to the recognition that religion and religious actors cannot be avoided and cannot be have to be engaged with and respected and honored and worked with. So although we talk about church state separation, uh, you know, and we cannot, disengage with religious actors and religious communities. We know that they are very effective actors. So this is going to have many different applications and utility, because the research is there and the information is there. So I'll go through the rest of the rights very quickly. So if there's any questions later on. So we talk about child marriage. We have a thing on polygamy. We talk about divorce. Divorce, by the way, can be used here in legislation because that's an important issue. We talk about family planning and abortion, talk about adoption and care of orphans, because there's this prevailing view that adoption is not permitted in Islam. And then we define what is motherhood and womanhood, and a lot of things that Mike you're talking about, this notion that a woman has to be subservient, and the only role that she has is the role of a mother, or a motherhood. Well, that's fine. It's what defines a woman from a man. Yes, only a woman can be a mother, but that doesn't mean that she cannot be a full womanhood. She can be a mother, and she could be many other things. And many of us who live in the States are examples of that. We are living examples of women who can do 10 things at the same time.
Sure. Daisy, you want to show the contents of the book?
Yeah, so let me just go through very quickly. The rights to wealth have inheritance, financial independence, and equal pay, property ownership. The right to your life has to do with
You may
social.
want to go slow if somebody wants to write down.
Okay.
By the
Uh,
way, this video will be at the
yeah.
Center for Pluralism. If you go to YouTube and type in Center for Pluralism, this video will be uploaded within an hour.
Yeah. So the right to your life has to do with social mobility, because a lot of women are told that they're restricted, they can't move around. modesty, which is a very big issue in all communities because the whole debate is around hijab, and in the West, it's a different debate. In the East, it's a different debate. Domestic violence, female genital mutilation, rape and sexual assault is an issue that a lot of communities are now confronting because of child trafficking and what is going on as refugees move around. Health and hygiene are also issues in poorer countries where there is not that focus on health and hygiene and infant mortality and women dying in childbirth. Then the right to your dignity has to do with slander and dignity. Slander is a crime in Islam, so women are slandered often and accused of things, and so therefore you have then honor killings as a result of that because they're slandered, they're shamed, and then honor killings. So then we conclude with, to find peace. So this is how it is. I'm going to go through this quickly. Women's equality. So everything has, an opening. There are Quranic verses. They're in English and in Arabic. Then we describe the verse if we need to. And here's the section on women of scripture. We describe them, who they were, why they're important, why you should know about them. Um,
Friends, you're listening to 30 Rights of Muslim Women.
so then in objectives of Sharia, we really felt that it was important for people to understand how Sharia actually works, because oftentimes people don't know the fine, there are three parts in carrying out these objectives. Focus must be plain first on the essentials, what is called essential, then necessities, and then finally luxury. So that's how laws are organized. Essential is human safety. Your safety is very important, like your life must be honored. And so each one of these rights actually has these three. So then we describe what is protection of life and promotion of life mean.
Daisy,
Yeah.
there are some questions coming
Okay.
that they want to see the slides. If you have the slides, they want to see the slides. If you don't, that's fine.
You mean the slide for?
I mean, you're looking at some document and mentioning those. They want to see those documents if we can share.
Okay. All right. So let's just take a look at civic and political leadership, right? So we have, so we actually show what is the right to your mind. The Quran prompts all human beings, regardless of gender, to follow their curiosity and to take upon themselves the responsibility of discovering the magnificence of God's creation. From the Quranic imperative to increase oneself in knowledge, facilitates both curiosity and creative expression, and promotes critical engagement with religious texts, which involve adapting these texts to modern times. Islam protects and promotes the mind by advancing women's intellectual development and rationality at all levels of education and society, defending women's right to think, interpret, access, and express information, and promoting women's right to pursue their talent. And so the very first right, then we talk about civic and political rights. And then we describe how Islam was considered profoundly revolutionary in challenging the institution of male dominance associated with pre-Islamic Arabia, which is called, the era of ignorance. The Quran is critical of the former status of women and, in fact, affirms the suitability of women in major leadership roles. For example, the Quran exemplifies women's leadership by highlighting the intelligence, political strategy, and acumen of Al-Malika Bilqis, the Queen of Sheba. So then we give this entire verse where Bilqis talks about, "O chiefs, advise me in this matter of mine, for I would never make any decision without you." And here is a queen who's consulting with her people now. And they respond, "We are a people of strength and great military might, but this decision is yours, so decide what you will command." And then she reasoned, "Indeed, when kings invade a land," and this is Solomon who's trying to invade her land, "when kings invade a land, they ruin it and debase its nobles. They really do. But I will certainly send him a gift and see what response my envoys will return with." At last she declared, "My lord, I certainly wronged my soul. Now I fully submit myself, along with Solomon, to Allah, the Lord of the worlds." So this is like synthesizing the whole story. It's a much larger story. But then we describe how she is the archetype of exemplary leadership through her transparency, public consultation, and prioritization of the welfare of her people. And this is important because she really did not want the war. She wanted to make sure that the welfare of her people was more important. So, whereas the egocentric male pharaoh forms the epitome of negative leadership, the juxtaposition of the intelligent, transparent female queen with the egocentric male pharaoh is done purposely to signify that male gender is no guarantee of a successful leader. Contrary to popular belief, women have led vast Muslim communities since the earliest centuries of Islam. So then we go into some other examples. For example, Al-Sharifa bin Abdullah was a companion of the Prophet, noted for her high intellect and later chosen as an important administrator and advisor to Caliph Omar. Later, Sita Mulk was a prominent leader of the Fatimid Empire. Now, each of these women are on our website. So if somebody wants to read a little bit more about them, they can do that.
And the website is
Yeah,
wise.
I will explain the website right after this. I will
Okay.
go to a link. Razia Sultana was chosen by her father over her brothers because her brothers were useless to lead the Delhi Sultanate and did so successfully for over a decade. And Sayyida Hurra al bin Sulaihiya, I mean, we're talking about centuries. We're giving the context of what was happening in these centuries. Led the Sulayha dynasty in the area known as Yemen for over 70 years. These women embody the duty incumbent upon all Muslims, male and female, to be Khalifa. So this is, we go back to the notion of being a steward of God. A Khalifa is a vice regent or steward of God's will, who employs the commands and recommendations from God among people, animals, and inanimate things. The goal of a Khalifa is to advance a society colored by dignity and justice. Since all Muslims are compelled to this duty, it follows that all human beings have been given the requisite intellect, guidance, and strength to improve the world. If a human can follow the teachings of the Quran and Sunnah to check their desires, not deify their souls, and avoid extravagance and extremism while seeking to better the world on behalf of God, then they contain the potential to be an excellent leader, regardless of their gender. These teachings hold true today as women all over the world continue to fulfill their Islamic duty of stewardship to lead nations. In the last 40 years, Muslim women have become major public officials or even heads of Muslim majority states. So then we describe all the countries: Bangladesh, Turkey, Iran, Indonesia, Mali, Senegal, Kyrgyzstan, Kosovo, Mauritius, and Gambia. And North America and European nations like the United States and have seen women elected to Congress, to parliament, to local mayors. But despite overwhelming Islamic evidence in favor of women's leadership, certain cultural biases in some patriarchal empires enforced unjust interpretations of Islamic texts that favor women's subordination to male authority and their exclusion from civic participation. So there's one reason for this. One hadith is frequently quoted to oppose women's leadership and is relayed by Abu Bakr Nufayya. Never shall a folk prosper who delegate their affairs to a woman. That is what the hadith says. This hadith, however, is inherently problematic, as Abu Bakr was convicted of slander, thus placing his credibility in question. So anybody who was convicted of slander, slanderers do not hold the requisite moral integrity to be accepted narrators of hadith. Furthermore, it is assumed that the Prophet was merely referring to the looming failure of the Persian state, not the Muslim women who were unfit for political office. A ruling as far reaching as forbidding women from leadership should not be considered sound when derived from a solitary report of a disputed validity. So, just as so then the next right is education, and I will show you. So this is our profile of Muslim women, past and present. And this is how everything is organized here. So you have women by the categories. So here are all the women who were, uh, so some
This
of
is
the,
on your website as well.
yeah, so this is on our website. You could see the first woman to assume the throne, last regent of Moorish Granada, pirate queen. I love this. She was a pirate queen who, prominent Fatima, I mean, mother of the caliph, co-ruler of the Berber Empire. You can see that these women, and then there are newer women, younger women who are, former first lady, Queen Yemen, Queen of Yemen, patron of arts, regent of, here's another one, regent of the Mughal Empire, and Abbasid queen. Um, here's a councilwoman who, you know, Chand Bibi, invisible lady of Ahmadnagar. So we organized them all because we really wanted people to see that, women have been active. They have not, they were sovereigns, they were empresses, they are, you know, female Nigerian minister. Here is Nadia Muhammad, who's one of the youngest people, American council member in, I think, let's see. So here is an example of somebody who's just entered politics, you know, literally just this year.
This gives
She's
a clear
23.
picture of women in politics,
Yeah,
society,
this is
religion.
just politics. So the whole website is organized by categories. So you can go in any category and see, and it's organized by century. So 500, if you want to see early women in the earliest centuries, here are all the early women of the earliest centuries. So we have 600 women that are profiled on the website, and we keep adding women as they become. We induct more and more women as they become known, and because we want people to be inspired by this. So the book will have links to this section. So we only mention them in a cursory way, but we want people to get inspired by reading the stories of these women to see, wow, I did not know that that a woman had safeguarded the Quran, that a woman was given the Quran because they knew that a woman would not get corrupted and she would not hand it over for political reasons to somebody. So this is all. So this is what. This is how we've organized it. So next year we will, obviously be doing a big social media campaign around the book, and bringing to light these women who exemplify this not only these rights but are inspiring women leaders. So I will end here to take any more questions or
Yes,
anything.
please unmute yourselves and ask any question. And this is a book coming up called The Rights of 30 Rights of Muslim Women. It's going to have a severe impact on the society. Many Muslim women honestly believe that they don't have those rights. They need to know those rights so they can, educated woman, a woman with all the rights, that God-given rights, can change the society, create a better society of harmony and cohesiveness.
Yeah. So, as an example, when before the book came about, this is how we had organized these rights on our website, and these will be updated now because we have more research. So this was just cursory view of something. This for instance, we wanted people to. So a lot of people go into this website to do their own research. So just something about what universal right to healthcare, health services. Um, so this is another area which a lot of people go into because it's synthesized, it's short, it's easy.
Yeah. Imaduddin Ahmad is also on the line. If you got any question, please, a comment, please share that to Imad. Assalamu alaikum, Imad. You have to unmute.
Yeah, I wasn't expected. I was planning to listen. I really didn't prepare any comments. So, uh,
So far, what do you think about the book? What does the book you think will give an impact on Muslim society in particular?
Well, I think it's an excellent idea, and I'm glad to see the book is there. Um, I
Can you go video?
oh, unfortunately, the computer I'm on has no camera.
Okay, okay.
Sorry.
And Daisy, there is a question from Rena. Rena herself is an author. She wants to know when the book will be published. I think we want to have a grand opening here in Washington, D.C., maybe on Capitol Hill.
Sure.
So that's why Rena is asking that question.
Yeah. So first of all, I wanted to thank Imad, right? Imad, I really want to thank you because it's wonderful to have men on this. You know, we in the past, when before the book came about, in consultation with my partner in Afghanistan, because um, many of the issues that women in Afghanistan and other countries are confronted by, they don't have the freedom and the luxury to live in a peaceful environment, in a critical environment where they can explore, think, read, consult books. I have that. I have that. I mean, if you just look at my back here,
Yes.
this is just my home. You should see my office. There's another series of books. So we have the luxury as American Muslims, and we have a responsibility to the world. We have the luxury to critically think about these issues, to create solutions, not only for our community, but for our communities abroad that are really suffering and are living in conditions that, you know, are unbearable. So this is why these rights are organized this way, is because they need this ammunition. They need this to convince the male authorities, the imams, and the Taliban. So what has happened in Afghanistan is since 2009, we've been doing imam trainings. So we literally created, you know, a group of 20 imams from neighborhood mosques, like storefront mosques, and we would bring them into a workshop. You know, our partner was doing most of the work. We were providing all the scholarship or all the position papers for her. And she and her husband would get together and have these workshops with the imams. The the testimonials, the impact of this training was unbelievable because we were able to convince these imams in literally one weekend. And so this is just an example of, you know, the imam trainings here. So
We have Dr. Ibrahim Sayed and Ambassador Islam Siddiqui, and please feel free to ask any question you have.
yeah, so you can see these are 20 imams poring over the documents, asking questions. And because of this training, we were able to stop child marriages. And we have gone from 20 imams to 6,000 imams. And I'm not just joking. This is literally, you know, recorded, because we have been working with the Ministry of Religion, and they have been identifying the imams, and our partner, this is Jamila there, is doing all the training. So what is this book going to do now in this COVID environment? We're
Yes.
going online in Afghanistan, and we're going to be doing these trainings via Zoom. So we already started, and my partner there has identified 150 women who are ulama, religious leaders, women. I didn't know they existed, but they do exist. They are leaders of madrasas, they are leaders, you know, they're principals of schools, they are devout women who care about these issues, and they are extremely excited about the book because now they have something in their hands, and they've already asked us, hey, can you make an app out of this? Because now everybody has a smartphone.
Yes.
People, people are poor, but they have a smartphone and they'd like to have this information handy. But also, more importantly, can you create a children's version of this book? Because
Daisy,
they,
you want to mention the advancement women's rights have made in Morocco and China?
well, you know, in Morocco, they have an established women's ministry that's very progressive, and they have made great strides. For instance, one of the things that they wanted to do was they really wanted to give authority to women in mosques. So they created the Murshidat program, where they gave women a certain amount of authority to be able to speak to people when they come to the mosque. Because when you put a woman in a mosque, and people are coming, whether it's men or women, and they're asking questions, the woman in an authority, it shifts the mindset. So Morocco has been very progressive in terms of always trying to do something that evolves the community to the next level. In China, there have been women imams for centuries. And this is what we talk about. But these are women imams who are imams of women's mosques, not not imams of mixed gender mosques. So we make the argument, if you really if your community is comprised mostly of women, you can create a women's mosque, and that has given rise to women creating mosques everywhere. There's one in California.
There is one in Chennai in India. There
There's
is
one
two
in
in
Chennai.
California.
I know that woman very well. She's part of my network. And
Yeah.
Shireen Khan just created a mosque called the Mariam Mosque, and she was one of the people that was inducted into WISE in 2006. She got inspired by all these stories, and so she created a tiny little mosque called the Mariam Mosque. She doesn't even have money for the carpet, but she created the mosque.
Yes.
Now she is like, there's documentaries being made about her. She's an exemplar in Europe, and this is how change happens. Change doesn't happen.
We met at the Parliament of World Religions in Salt Lake City about 3 years ago, didn't we?
Yeah, yes. Um, so anyway, so this,
Miriam has a note here. Miriam, that's the first name I see. You had a note. Could you please mention what that note was about?
I'm sorry, is it a question to me?
Yeah, I believe there is a question here, and I'm trying to.
Yeah, Assalamu alaikum. I'm sorry. My phone is very limited. My texting wasn't very good. Yeah, I first of all want to commend you for what you've created. It was really a much needed service. I completely agree. Especially, I can only talk about Afghanistan in a limited manner. I mean, I've been raised here, but what I hear of the horrors that happen as a lack of knowledge for women over there is just horrific. So this type of knowledge to make the women over there understand their rights and have it on a text book form, that it's tangible for them, and also to be there and create madrasas for them, or in their schooling, create a platform of workshops to make them understand these rulings in a deeper way. That is like amazing. So thank you so much, Daisy, for the work that you have done. It's absolutely I mean, I'm speechless as how to thank you for this wonderful work you've done. But what are the needs that now the Afghans in the US can give to women over there in Afghanistan? And in what capacity can we help them?
Yeah. So, women in Afghanistan are in a very critical juncture right now. So, first of all, I think that the fact that we have a new administration that is going to look at the policy in Afghanistan, the current policy in Afghanistan, differently than the Trump administration did, I think that, first of all, is going to be the work of people who are in DC. People who have influence in DC need to step up that game, because we really have to change this relationship that we have developed with Taliban, and created a mess between the current government and Taliban, as if they're both competing. And the woman whose face you're looking at right now will tell you horror stories of what has happened with the Taliban. And these are the very people that are now supposed to rule and come in and guide this nation. It is, I don't know, it is the gravest injustice that we are doing to Afghanistan after the repeated failures, with the wars that we have created there. So that, first and foremost, we need to take that very seriously. We need to meet with the right people, and we need the State Department to step up their game with Afghanistan. And because these quote unquote peace talks that are going on with these very people that were warlords that have murdered hundreds and thousands of Afghans and continue to do so, by the way.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two, all of us can apply a lot of pressure, and we can support women. So one of the things I'd like to do I know how things work in Afghanistan because of the work we've done there. Is external pressure works a lot with even the conservative men. So for instance, some of these men who you see in this picture were taken to other countries like Indonesia, neighboring country, to Turkey, to see how Muslims are living there, how Muslim women are actually attending mosques, how Muslim women are doing the kind of work that they're doing. So that immediately changed their mindset. They were like, well, why are we living in the dark ages when women
Yeah.
in these countries, for instance, in Afghanistan, they wouldn't let a woman come to the mosque because they said, well, she can go to heaven with a man. That was the
Yeah.
argument. And so then when they went to when they went to Turkey and they saw the mosques overflowing with women, they were stunned because it is an affinity culture. You see, Turks, there's a certain amount of influence, from the old days, Turkic culture, and they have certain Turkic communities. So they were so shocked by that women are attending mosques and going there, and women are jurists, and they're highly educated. And so same thing with Iran. So some of these examples that we use from other countries really come in handy. So what I'd like to do with the 30 rights is to create a global declaration of 30 rights of Muslim women. And we have a very large network through WISE because we have women like Jamila in every country. And we can create that as a pressure group because it would have many signatories. It would have the world Muslim community coming together and saying, yes, women have these rights. And we need our men for that. We really do, because if the men support us in our communities, it, things move much faster. Like these imams, when they stopped conducting child marriages, and they started telling men to give their sisters their properties or their inheritance that they had stolen from them, that creates a major shift because you have
It
to
is.
know where the
It is.
levers of influence are. And the irony is that the levers of influence are still men in many parts of these world.
In
So
fact, Daisy, when Miriam mentioned about the book, I remember in my youth days, there is a book. I don't remember the name. That Dr. Humaira Ali is there. Maybe she can give the name. A book was given as a gift to the bride, and that book is teaching her how to be subservient to men and how to oppress herself. Uh, and she believed that the Quran did not have give that right. And once women are liberated, when their rights are restored, they can do so much good to bring peace in the society. They can bring so much to prosperity. Educated women can change the entire world.
yeah.
And that is the potential we are missing. I'm glad to see your book is going in that direction.
Yeah. Well, so as a small example, Jamila, when she was doing the trainings for the imams, when the peace talks were going on, a lot of women that were brought to the peace talks were women who were wives of ministers, blah, blah, blah. And they were very ineffective with the Taliban because they didn't know how to communicate with them. So Jamila, on the other hand, knows how to communicate with these people. She knows the mindset of the conservative men. And so eventually she was brought to the table and she sat there, and instead of talking about women's rights, she told them a story about a family who had been torn apart because of the constant war going on between the Taliban and the current government. Like, they were caught in the middle, the public was caught in the middle. But she talked about one family, the story of one family, heart-wrenching story. And it is said that the men were crying in the room. These Taliban with these big beards and these turbans were crying. And one man got up and told her, I'm not crying with my eyes, I'm crying with my heart for what we have done for this nation. And then when
It's
she
very
went back,
powerful.
yeah, when she went back home, she got a phone call from the Taliban saying, can you come and do trainings for us? Because what have you done to these imams? Because they were trying to figure out whether they should give rights to women. And so would they go to? They went to the local imams to find out, does a woman have the right to education? And because we trained these imams from the same material, everybody got the same book, the same everything, they were all singing the same tune. And they were saying, of course she does, And of course, she doesn't have the right to be forced into marriage. Of course, she has the right to have her inheritance because we had just done 5 rights and now we're doing 24
Well,
more.
well, the
But
change
the
is
point
coming.
is, the Taliban then told her, whatever training you have given them, why don't you also give us the same training? So you see, there's that potential also, because people think Taliban is one group. There are 4 types of Taliban. So there are the ones that are trying to go into government and govern are a different set of people than the people that are still committed to violence because they have paired up with ISIS now. So, so you have a very crazy dynamic going on and there has to be immediate pressure. So to your question, yes, we have to really keep the pressure on and we have to do it from all vantage points. And I'm happy with the book to create the pressure that we need to create specifically for women's rights. Sorry, Mike, I think you
And
was.
there is a question, what about media programs as an educational tool?
Yeah, well, that's very important because that's what we need the funding for, is because we then have to take all these rights and create the right kind of educational. We know there are people who are readers like me. I read books, but then there are people who don't want to read books. They want the information given to them in a digested form. So that would require a social media campaign, a really nice, slick social media campaign, but also a YouTube channel where, because I have done this work with so many great scholars, I have, a very nice repository of brilliant scholars who can tease out each of these things in nanoseconds. So our dream is to create a YouTube channel where we could be discussing each one of these rights in a very uh, entertaining, robust, but very authoritative way so that we could really talk about this issue and it would be open to dialogue. Because, laws are not laws evolve and things shift, and every time I send this manuscript around to a few people, they come back with more things that I need to include in here. So there is a potential that this will remain dynamic, that although the first version of the book is printed now, we could reprint, we could continually update and add more information. So yeah,
Yes.
social media and social media is all part of this.
Sarah Hussein has a question. Sarah, would you please speak up?
Hi, Salaam Alaikum.
Excellent.
I must say that I do enjoy your talks, Dr. Mike. And inshallah, I'll be attending a few more in the near future. Daisy, thank you for this platform. I just have a few comments and a question regarding the forced marriages, as well as very sensitive topics such as honor killing that takes place, all over the world. In Britain, there's research that indicates it takes place at least 12 times a year, with 12 girls are murdered due to honor killing. I mean, how does this address that? That's one. Forced marriages, again, is cultural in some parts of the world. That's two. We know from history that women were leaders. I mean, the first university in the world was created by a woman. The first wife of our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam was a businesswoman. So there's history that backs what the Quran states about the rights of women, the monetary, the financial, the territory rights of women, of self-independence. And another just comment, and that's just my observation. And please, I hope that you do not take it in any way disregarding your work, which is amazing and fabulous. Just the cover of your book. I mean, I am a hijabi, and there are millions of hijabis around the world that choose to wear hijab because of their own choices and their own freedom rights. It's actually an expression of freedom, an expression of right, an expression of what it is to be a Muslima in today's world, Muslim world, and secular world and non-religious world. Why is it that there isn't a hijabi female on the cover of this book? That's
Yeah.
my observation. Thank you, Daisy.
No, thank you so much for asking that question. Actually, I don't know if you may have come in just a little bit late in the beginning. I mentioned that this was a placeholder title. Cover. This is not the final cover, and the final cover is going to be quite something because we are speaking to several people to design the cover, And we know that the issue of hijab versus non-hijab, we don't want to be in that debate because the content of the book is so important. So there's probably not going to be any people on the cover. So just so you know, this is not the final cover. This is something we put together as a placeholder because we just needed something. Um, and as far as the other issues that you're speaking about, I'm just holding up the honor killing section for you. So there is an entire write-up on honor killings here, and it, talks about what honor killings are. So yeah, in the case of legislation for honor killings, so there's an entire article. I don't think I have enough time to go through it, but we talk about honor killings, as to why these things happen, like I mentioned before, women are slandered. Oftentimes they're slandered. They're accused. Sometimes, somebody rapes them and they're accused of zina, which is, adultery. So, and it's a great crime, it by, and so we would use this article to educate people on that. And I think you mentioned forced marriage. We have an article on forced marriage as well. So there is an article on each one of these that describes it. So the question is, whichever community is facing it can take this article. So as an example, when we did our first position paper on female genital mutilation, our partner in Gambia used that. In 2008, she started training the imams because it was a very big issue. And because the religious argument had never been brought in, it was always the health argument, right? And the human rights argument. So when the shuyukh started hearing that it is un-Islamic, it is not in the Quran, it is not analogous to male circumcision, it affects the sexuality of women, it results in divorce, it results in all kinds of health issues for women, they were so convinced they issued a fatwa. In 2011, they issued a fatwa against it. And in 2018, Gambia banned the practice. And I met the vice president of Gambia because I was invited there. And she said to me, she said, your paper was the missing piece of the puzzle because we could not convince the imams before that. So one woman took this, one woman took it, and then she just ran with it. So that's what our partners do. They run with the arguments that we give to them. That, like I said, we have the luxury as American Muslims to sit in the comfort of our home. I'm looking at the Hudson River right now. I'm in a most pristine environment. I mean, I have my coffee, my tea. No one is coming after me, and I have the luxury of looking and examining and creating something. So then the women on the ground, the grassroots women, will take this information and apply it in their communities the way they see it fit.
So, Daisy, we got about 13 more minutes left. And if we can entertain one or two questions, otherwise, I think we may have to come to a conclusion. And friends, you're listening to Gender Pluralism as a part of the Center for Pluralism, where pluralism is respecting the otherness of the others. Every human being is equal. Prophet Muhammad said that in his last sermon, and our Constitution says that every man is born to be equal. And when everybody is equal, that's when the societies flourish. There is peace, and everyone feels secure. When there is freedom, everybody feels secure of who they are, gender wise, ethnicity wise, faith wise, whatever you believe, whatever who you are, you need to feel secure. And that is what Islam propagates. And this book is an important book and is a catalyst in changing the rights of women, and that we have come a long way, but we got to go a whole lot more. So you may want to make some concluding remarks, Daisy, including giving the website and how people can donate to get your book out.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I really want to thank you, Mike, for giving me this opportunity because this is pre-publication. So we know that people have many commitments, but we're not looking for immense amount of money, but just enough so that we can hire the right kind of talent to get things done the correct way, so we can have this book ready to be sent to Afghanistan and to other countries where it can be translated into multiple languages, and to create educational material out of this book. Like webinar series and YouTube channel and things of that nature, like the uh, additional materials that will come out of this, including a children's book. My conclusion is that, in this pandemic, we have learned a lot, and we have certain things have changed, and I think that the woman's century is here now, and women, this is happening in America, and America has taken a very important leadership role in how women are now being perceived, that women can be at the second in charge of one of the most powerful nations in the world. And we have to ride that, and we have to help women in other parts of the world, and because we are still one of the most privileged people on the face of this earth. I mean, those of us who are in privileged positions especially need to use that privilege to help others. And there are many applications to the book. It's not just Afghanistan, it's Pakistan, every country, India. I'm already getting requests in India, can we do an Urdu version? And so, the more we can, spread this information, the more people's hands we can get this into, the more effective it'll be and more sustainable it'll be, the more educational, it has an educational element to it. So, but more important than that, it's also very inspiring because it goes into the depth of who we are as human beings and what we are charged with, and what is the responsibility that we have as human beings, as vice regents of God. So I think that
And
um,
everyone can be a part of this. Everyone can be part of this movement, a catalyst for a positive change. All of us want change. All of us want rights for all people. And it is time that we support a book that advocates such rights and brings a very big change all across the societies.
yes. And so we had a launch good campaign. Sorry, I'm just pulling it up right now because I should have had this. um, I'm going to send it to you right now. And there's a um,
While you're searching, I'm going to mention about this book, the book called The Wise. This book is about how to change societies in general, all societies, getting out of terrorism, how to deal with extremism. It's really a manual and a guidebook. And Daisy, I have put that in the hands of two former attorney generals, including Barr. And Mike Pence also has got this book. And also, this book, The American Muslim Agenda, talks about what, as Muslims, we can do. In this book, American Muslim Agenda, there is a chapter on gender pluralism and equality, which is one of the biggest Islamic values. I hope you found this, what you're searching.
So I did a quick search. We had a campaign, but for some reason they closed it yesterday, and that's why it was a little. So if you are not able to donate at this, I'm sending you the Wise donate button. You're welcome to just donate directly to Wise, but we had a campaign running through Launch Good, and you can certainly, just donate.
And the website is Wise Women.
No, I'm putting it. I'm just putting it in the chat.
Oh, you're going to put it in the chat.
Yes.
Friends, the chat, take a note of the chat, and you will have the websites where you can donate, or where you can access information about what Daisy was talking about earlier today.
Yeah, so I also added the website. So that's our website. If anybody wants to ever look at, the women profiles, the website is there. The first one is a campaign. If for some reason you're not able to donate at the campaign, you're welcome to donate directly at Wise. Both ways will get the money. And I really thank you very much for joining. And, it'd be great if we could work together because we need we need a lot of different people, and especially the men that have joined us need to join forces with us. So thank
Yes.
you, Mike.
Friends, this is a part of the Center for Pluralism. The pluralism simply means respecting the otherness of the other. And there is pluralism in religion, that is accepting other religions as equally divine and equally valuable, as Lakum Dinakum Waliyuddin says. And there is also pluralism in politics, learning how to get along and create a society that is safe and secure for everyone. Pluralism in culture, and again pluralism at workplace. We all have to be productive and live in cohesiveness. And this program today is gender pluralism as a part of our Center for Pluralism.
Mike, when I did that, I actually put the I sent it to Miriam's phone, not to everybody. So now,
Okay, so
now
there is from
we're
Daisy
now
to Win, there is
redoing
a
it.
Launch Good camping, and please feel free to donate, and you will become a catalyst for a change that you really want for women. And here is an opportunity for you to produce that book, and by donating whatever you can donate, and please share this link with your friends who can donate. And it is important book coming out, and it will change the perception about Muslims and Islam that all of us want. And it is also change that brings about freedom to women, as it has done in Afghanistan and Gambia. It brings freedom. When you're free, there is nothing like being free. And you can ask the women who are constantly oppressed, harassed. It is not easy. It takes out their potential to create, contribute to the societies. You may have the last word, Daisy.
Yeah, I just want to say that one of the things that we decided to do was everybody who donates, even if they donate $1, their name is going to be in the book, because we want to show that the book has been supported by people. So it's wonderful to see the kind of variation of people that have already donated. We have, Christians, Jews, Hindus, Muslims, all people donating. So, and everybody's name is going to appear in the book one way or the other, depending on, uh, your level. So it doesn't matter. You can just donate $1, just to show that you have supported this. We know there are many commitments. Everybody has their commitments and their charities they have to support, but if you're able to, it would be nice to have your support. Thank you so much, Mike.
Friends, this video will be on the website, the Center for Pluralism.com. And also it will be at the YouTube. If you go to the YouTube channel, please do subscribe YouTube channel and just plug in Center for Pluralism. This video will be uploaded maybe within an hour or maybe tonight. It will be uploaded, and you can share that link with others. And also I will share the link that Daisy has shared on here about contributing your donation. Let me say that contributing to a positive change in society, and that is your contribution towards it.
Yeah.
And with that, we conclude the program.
So
Thank you
some
very much for watching.
Mike, somebody just asked a question. Will donors get a copy of the book? Yes, if they want a copy of the book, we will send it. So the question is yes. Not everybody has requested it, but if you would like a copy of the book sent to you, we will do that. And the book is going to be published in as a hard book and also as a soft copy. So it'll be an ebook also. So thank you all, and it was a wonderful Sunday being with you. And I'll put my email directly on this.
Please do that.
Yeah, let me just do that. If anybody wants to reach me directly. My email is there.
Okay, I'm going to give my email too. If
Daisy,
somebody wants to get the copy of the video, I'll send them the link.
yeah, daisy@wisemuslimwomen.org.
Mine is mikegauss@gmail.com. And if you send the emails, we'll be happy to send that to you. Thank you, Jeff Berger. I think I have a note. I think Jeff Berger from UK had joined also.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeff, for joining.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, Jeff.
Lovely to be with you.
Okay,
Fascinating talk.
okay, great.
Wishing
Wonderful.
you a lot of success.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Please share the link with everyone. I'll send it to you.
Mhm.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
Have
Bye.
a nice
Thank
day.
you. Mike. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Dr. Humaira Ali.